The alien nurse gave me the wrong injection, saying, "This wasn't for humans, don't say a word." She had been assigned to research an uncharted star system, far beyond the usual trade and travel routes of the galaxy. Her ship, the Aurora's Edge, had completed a series of geological scans on a tiny, rocky planet when an unexpected solar storm damaged the ship's sensors. Alara was fortunate that the ship's AI, named Sira, managed to keep the vessel on course to the nearest station, a sprawling orbital facility known simply as Eden 7. As the ship docked with a quiet hum, Alara felt a mixture of relief and fatigue. She had been traveling through space for weeks, and though her body was trained for long periods in zero gravity, the hours of scanning, logging, and maneuvering had left her muscles stiff. The docking bay was a whirlwind of lights, movements, and alien voices, a symphony of different languages blending together. Eden 7 was a hub for research, trade, and medical services, and the diversity of beings was something Alara had always found fascinating. Yet today, she didn't have the energy for fascination. She needed help. Her injury was minor, or so she thought. During the storm, she had slipped while adjusting one of the sensors in the cargo bay and fallen awkwardly against a metallic rail. A deep bruise had formed along her side, and she felt a persistent ache when moving. The onboard medkit of the Aurora's Edge had basic supplies, but for something more thorough, she would need Eden's medical staff. Alara walked through the hospital corridors, marveling at the architecture. Unlike human stations, Eden 7's hospital was alive with movement and color. Organic shapes twisted along the walls, glowing softly to guide patients and staff. Doors opened automatically as she approached, welcoming her into rooms filled with gentle lights and clean, calming air. She felt a pang of envy at the ease with which the aliens moved in this environment, but she reminded herself that humans had yet to master such seamless integration of technology and life. She was greeted by the nurse who would change her day forever. Thria was unlike any being Alara had encountered before. She glowed faintly, her skin shimmering with soft, shifting colors like sunlight on water. Her eyes, deep and reflective, seemed to peer through walls, through machines, and perhaps through people. Thria's voice when she spoke was musical yet calm, carrying a tone that suggested understanding beyond words. "Dr. Alara Miles," Thria said, her voice a soft chime, "we have prepared your treatment. Please lie down." Alara nodded, following the nurse to a reclining chair shaped almost like a hammock, yet perfectly structured for comfort and support. The chair adjusted automatically to her body, soft padding molding around her to relieve pressure points. Alara couldn't help but notice the precision of the design. It seemed to anticipate her needs before she even had to think about them. Thria approached with a small vial in one hand and a syringe-like instrument in the other. The liquid inside glowed faintly, a pale blue that seemed to pulse with an inner light. Alara felt a flicker of hesitation. "What is that?" she asked, trying to keep her voice steady. Thria's eyes met hers. "A routine serum for pain relief and cellular repair," she replied. "You will feel a small warmth, perhaps tingling as your body absorbs it. The process is fast and painless." Alara swallowed hard. Her training had taught her to trust medical professionals, but something in Thria's presence, the way she moved, the faint energy radiating from her, made Alara pause. She looked down at her arm, unsure if she should object or trust. But the ache in her side, growing sharper as she shifted, reminded her why she was here. "All right," Alara said softly, offering her arm. Thria's fingers barely touched her skin, yet Alara felt a subtle vibration, almost like a hum, running along her nerves. The nurse injected the serum with careful precision, her glowing eyes never leaving Alara's face. Immediately, a wave of warmth spread through her body. It started at the injection site, then radiated outward, touching every muscle, every fiber. It was not painful, far from it, but the sensation was unfamiliar, unlike anything she had ever experienced. Wait, Thria's voice dropped to a near whisper. This wasn't meant for humans. Alara's eyes widened. What do you mean? She asked, alarmed. Thria leaned closer, her voice even softer. Don't say a word, she murmured. You mustn't tell anyone yet. You will understand in time. The nurse straightened, her luminous form glowing brighter for a moment, as if reinforcing her warning. Then she stepped back, allowing Alara to process what had just been said. Alara's mind raced. Not meant for humans, she repeated quietly to herself. Her curiosity clashed with caution. What could that possibly mean? Was the serum dangerous? Or was it something entirely different, something the aliens had not tested on her species? She felt a strange sensation growing inside her, an alertness, a sharpness she had never experienced. Her vision seemed to detect details she normally would have missed. The gentle flicker of lights on the ceiling, the tiny movements of dust particles floating in the air, even the subtle rhythm of the station's life support systems. Her thoughts seemed to move faster, connecting ideas and observations almost instantly. Is this safe? She asked, though her voice held a hint of wonder rather than fear. Thria smiled faintly. You will learn. Humans, you are more adaptable than many give credit for. You will see why soon. Alara tried to sit up, but a new strength coursed through her. Her muscles, previously sore and stiff, now moved with fluid grace. She flexed her fingers, testing the enhanced coordination and control. Even her sense of balance felt heightened, as though she could navigate the station's corridors with perfect awareness, even blindfolded. The nurse left the room quietly, leaving Alara to contemplate her new state. She was torn between amazement and fear. What had just happened to her? And why had Thria whispered such a warning? Over the next few hours, Alara began to experiment cautiously. She realized she could sense the flow of energy within machines. The station's monitors, which normally displayed only data, now seemed to pulse with information she could intuitively understand. She moved her hand over the control panels, and they responded as if listening to her thoughts. Simple adjustments that normally required complex commands were now executed with ease. Alara's mind, always quick and analytical, now worked at a pace that made her previous work seem slow. Patterns and connections revealed themselves effortlessly. She started logging her observations, her pen moving almost automatically across her notepad, capturing details before she could even fully articulate them. Yet, amid the excitement, a nagging thought remained. Why? Why had Thria given her a serum not meant for humans? And why the warning to remain silent? As the day wore on, Alara ventured beyond the medical wing. She wandered through Eden 7, moving past alien researchers, traders, and patients. Normally, she would have felt out of place, but now, with her enhanced senses, she could navigate effortlessly. She noticed small patterns in the alien behaviors, tiny signals in their movements that hinted at unspoken communication. She realized she could understand more than just the literal language. She could sense intention, emotion, even subtle shifts in thought. By evening, Alara returned to her quarters, exhausted yet exhilarated. She had never felt so alive, so capable. She reviewed her notes, replaying the events of the day in her mind, trying to piece together the significance of Thria's actions. And yet, a shadow of doubt lingered. Whatever the serum had done to her, it was irreversible, or at least, she hoped it was not dangerous. She had to find a way to understand it fully, without drawing attention. Humans were observers on this station, not the subjects of alien experimentation. If anyone discovered her condition, the consequences could be unpredictable. As she drifted off to sleep, her body still tingling with new energy, Alara resolved to uncover the truth. The path ahead was uncertain, and danger, she suspected, might be closer than she realized. But one thing was clear. Whatever this serum had done, Humanity's potential had just taken a leap into something far beyond what anyone had imagined. Alara woke early, her body buzzing with energy she could barely describe. She had slept deeply for the first time in weeks, yet she felt no fatigue. The serum, or whatever it was, had transformed her in ways she was only beginning to understand. She rose from her bed, stretched, and immediately noticed that the simple act of standing felt different. Her balance was perfect, her muscles responding instantly to even the smallest thought. The room around her, ordinary only a day ago, now seemed alive. She could sense subtle vibrations in the walls, tiny fluctuations in the air currents, even the faint hum of the station's energy systems. The control panel beside her bed pulsed faintly, and without conscious effort, she reached out, adjusting its setting simply by thinking. The lights dimmed slightly, then brightened, just as she had intended. A thrill ran through her. Alara knew she could not tell anyone about this. Thria's warning echoed in her mind. Don't say a word. She had no idea why, but she trusted the nurse's judgment. For now, she would explore her abilities quietly. Her first tests were small. She moved objects in her room without touching them, guided them with careful focus. Even something as simple as lifting a pen off the table required concentration, yet the process fascinated her. The pen hovered, rotated gently in the air, and then settled in her hand. She marveled at the ease with which her mind now connected with the physical world. Next, she tested her senses. Opening the window of her quarters, she felt the airflow from the corridor beyond. She could sense the presence of beings moving down the hall, their forms, intentions, even emotional states. It was subtle at first, like feeling the gentle ripple of water. But as she focused, the ripples grew sharper, clearer. She could sense curiosity, fatigue, and even hidden fear in the beings passing her door. Alara stepped cautiously into the corridor. Normally, she might have felt nervous walking among so many unknown aliens, but now she moved with confidence. She noticed details no one else would. The slight lag in a robot's steps, the rhythm of an alien's gait, the micro-fluctuations in light from the station's energy conduits. She realized that she could predict movement before it happened, understand patterns almost instinctively. Her first real challenge came unexpectedly. A small service drone had malfunctioned, spinning erratically in the corridor. Normally, this would have caused panic among the staff, but Alara acted before anyone could react. Focusing, she reached out with her mind, not physically but through some new, invisible connection. The drone responded to her guidance, slowing its spin and settling gently on the floor. A crowd of aliens and humans turned toward her, astonished. Alara's heart raced. She had not expected anyone to notice. She muttered a quiet apology, claiming she had just tripped over the drone, but inside she marveled at what had just happened. Humans were not supposed to do this. Yet here she was, performing what seemed like a miracle. Returning to her quarters, Alara began to explore the station's technology. Eden 7 was a marvel of engineering, filled with systems and devices that even she had struggled to understand. Now, with her enhanced mind, she could intuitively grasp the purpose and design of each machine. Energy flows, control algorithms, and maintenance cycles all appeared in her mind like threads of light connecting the station. She realized she could influence them, not by force but through understanding and focus. As she experimented, a faint hum of awareness reached her. It was Thria, observing, always just out of sight. Alara could sense the nurse's presence, not physically, but energetically, as if a ripple of consciousness passed between them. It was comforting in a strange way, though also unnerving. She felt that Thria's eyes could see through walls, through machines, through the very patterns of thought. Days passed and Alara's abilities grew. She could process data faster than any station computer, solve complex problems intuitively, and even predict minor malfunctions before they occurred. She began logging her observations, not only for herself, but in hopes of one day sharing the findings with her fellow humans. Yet she kept everything secret, knowing that the moment anyone suspected what she was capable of, things could change drastically. One afternoon, the station experienced a minor energy fluctuation. Normally, this would have been routine, handled by the automated systems. But the fluctuation grew, threatening to destabilize a section of the station. Alara felt it before the alarms even sounded. Energy currents rippled through the station like invisible waves, and she could sense the precise points where failure might occur. Without hesitation, she moved to the control center. The alien staff were struggling to stabilize the situation. Consoles flashed, warning lights blinked, and panic was just beginning to spread. Alara, however, felt calm. She focused her mind, connecting with the systems as if they were extensions of her own body. She rerouted power, balanced the energy load, and guided the repairs, not physically, but through thought and intention. Minutes later, the warning lights faded, the system stabilized, and the staff looked around in awe. One alien technician, a tall being with crystalline skin, asked incredulously, "How did you do that?" Alara smiled softly, avoiding their eyes. "Just intuition," she said, though she knew it was far more than that. Her mind had merged with the station's systems in a way no human had ever experienced. That night, Alara reflected on her abilities. She had always believed humans were limited, fragile, and constrained by biology. Yet now, with a single serum, she had surpassed what any human, or alien, might have expected. She realized that humanity's potential was far greater than even she had imagined. The possibilities were thrilling, but also terrifying. The next day, curiosity drove her to explore further. She visited the station's research labs, where scientists were conducting experiments on alien biology, energy systems, and interstellar navigation. Normally, these labs were off-limits to her, but now she moved effortlessly through security, guided by intuition rather than force. She observed an alien biologist struggling with a complex enzyme synthesis. To the scientist, it seemed nearly impossible to stabilize the reaction. Yet Alara, understanding the subtle energy flows within the molecules, guided the process through thought alone. The reaction completed perfectly, producing results far better than expected. The biologist stared at her, mouth agape. "How?" Alara shrugged, giving a vague explanation about observing patterns. Inside, she felt both pride and a growing awareness of responsibility. Her abilities were a gift, but they were also a test. If humans were capable of this, what did it mean for the rest of the galaxy? And more importantly, why had Thria chosen her for this experiment? She sought the nurse, finding Thria quietly observing the station from a balcony overlooking the main docking bay. Alara approached cautiously. "Why me?" she asked softly. "Why give me this serum?" Thria's glowing form shifted, a faint shimmer passing across her surface. "Because you can," she replied simply. "Humans are underestimated. You adapt, you endure, and you can grow in ways even we cannot predict. I have seen others like you before, though never with such potential." Alara frowned. "Potential for what?" Thria's eyes seemed to pierce through her. "To lead, to protect, to understand. You are more than a human. You are the bridge between species, between worlds, but you must learn patience. You must learn control. Your abilities are powerful, but they are only meaningful when guided by wisdom." Alara nodded, though she did not fully understand. She sensed that Thria was speaking truths beyond her current comprehension. The nurse's warning echoed again. "Don't say a word." Perhaps it was not merely secrecy, but a test. Over the following days, Alara continued to explore her capabilities. She communicated silently with the station's AI, SIRA, directing repairs, analyzing research data, and optimizing systems. She could sense the ebb and flow of energy throughout the station, detect minor failures before they became problems, and even anticipate the movements of the station's inhabitants. She began to wonder about the larger universe. If humans were capable of this growth, if the serum had unlocked abilities previously thought impossible, what did it mean for humanity's place in the galaxy? Could humans truly become a force for discovery, for innovation, for cooperation among species? Alara did not have answers yet, but one thing was certain: the serum had changed her life, and perhaps the lives of all humans forever. She had crossed a threshold into a new existence, one filled with possibility, danger, and responsibility. As night fell over Eden 7, the station's lights casting soft glows across the corridors, Alara stood by a viewport, gazing at the stars. She felt the hum of energy not just within herself, but around her, connecting her to the vast web of the galaxy. She knew that her journey had only just begun, and that the unseen abilities granted to her were a key to a future she could scarcely imagine. The stars twinkled in the distance, silent and patient, waiting for the next step. And Alara, human yet extraordinary, was ready to take it. Alara woke to a subtle vibration running through Eden 7. At first, she thought it was the usual hum of the station's engines, but it quickly grew stronger, like a ripple passing through the very walls. Her instincts, sharpened by the serum, alerted her instantly. Something unusual was happening. She rose quickly, moving with a speed and grace that made her almost invisible to the few staff moving through the halls. Her senses stretched out, scanning every corridor, every system, and every being. The station's energy flows were disrupted. A rogue asteroid detected only minutes ago was approaching faster than predicted. Its trajectory would take it uncomfortably close to the station, threatening to disrupt shields, communications, and critical systems. Alara's heart raced, not with fear but with anticipation. This was her first real test. Theoretical exercises and minor repairs had been one thing, but this was a potential disaster. She knew the station's standard automated defenses could handle small fluctuations, but the size and speed of this asteroid exceeded their limits. She could feel the tension in the walls, hear the subtle changes in the air pressure, and even sense the energy pulses of the shield struggling to maintain stability. The command center was a flurry of activity. Aliens and humans scrambled at consoles, issuing commands and monitoring systems. Alara arrived just as the station's chief engineer, a towering figure with metallic plating across his arms, barked orders. "We need to reinforce the shields manually," he shouted. "Computers are not enough. Focus on energy redistribution before the core overloads." Alara didn't hesitate. She approached a console and placed her hands above the controls, not touching, but guiding. Her mind connected with the station's systems effortlessly. She could feel the energy flows, the pressure points, the weak spots. The shields pulsed under her attention, responding as if her thoughts were commands. "Energy to the aft shields," she whispered, almost to herself, and the station obeyed. Lights along the shield interface brightened, stabilizing the weakest sections. The engineer turned, eyes wide. "How?" Alara shook her head, focusing entirely on the task. She didn't have time to explain. The asteroid's path was now visible on the station's main display, a streak of glowing rock, hurtling toward them faster than anyone expected. She could sense its energy signature, its mass, and even the vibrations it sent through space. She extended her awareness beyond the station. Tiny fluctuations in the asteroid's spin hinted at weak points. She guided the shields to focus on those areas, distributing energy in a precise pattern that no computer could calculate in real time. The shields vibrated under the pressure, but held firm. Nearby staff watched in awe. Even seasoned engineers and alien technicians could not understand what she was doing, yet they sensed the calm authority in her movements. Alara's presence became the anchor for their efforts. Minutes felt like hours. The asteroid drew closer, the station's systems creaking under the strain. Alarms blared, but Alara's mind moved faster than any siren. She sensed minor microfissures forming in the energy conduits and rerouted flows instinctively. Panels flickered, consoles beeped, but the station held steady. A sudden surge threatened the main energy grid. If it overloaded, it could shut down life support for several decks. Alara reached out, not physically but mentally, guiding the energy through alternate channels, balancing power with the precision of a maestro conducting a symphony. The asteroid grazed Eden 7, sending a tremor through the station. A few small debris strikes rattled the outer hull, but thanks to Alara's guidance, the shields held. She exhaled slowly, realizing that the immediate threat had passed. The station was intact, functional, and safe. A silence fell in the command center. Staff stared at the displays, trying to comprehend how the disaster had been averted. The engineer finally spoke, voice trembling with disbelief. You controlled the shields and the power grids," Alara nodded. "Something like that," she replied, keeping her explanation vague. She knew the truth would be difficult to believe. She had not only stabilized the station, but predicted and manipulated events before they even fully unfolded. The aftermath was quiet but electric. Word spread quickly through the station about the human who had saved them. Aliens, humans, and even AI systems seemed to regard her differently now. She wasn't just another researcher or visitor. She was someone capable of extraordinary feats. Yet Alara felt uneasy. This display of power, even if necessary, would draw attention. She could already sense whispers, curious glances, and subtle calculations from the station's authorities. Some would be impressed, others suspicious. Humans were known for ingenuity, yes, but not for abilities that bent systems to thought alone. She realized she had to be cautious, lest her gift become a danger to her freedom. Over the following hours, she surveyed the damage. The outer hull had a few scratches and small dents, but nothing critical. The crew was busy repairing minor systems, checking life support, and recalibrating shields. Alara assisted where she could, though subtly. Her mind connected with the station's repair systems, speeding diagnostics and suggesting solutions to engineers before they could even fully understand the problems. That evening, she returned to her quarters, exhausted yet exhilarated. The experience had been a test, and she had passed. But she understood something important. This was only the beginning. If humanity was capable of this, if humans could adapt and excel under extreme circumstances, what did that mean for the galaxy? Alara's thoughts were interrupted by a soft chime at her door. It was Thria. The nurse's glowing form shimmered faintly as she entered, moving with the grace of someone who belonged to another dimension entirely. "You handled the situation well," Thria said, her voice calm but filled with approval. "Even I was surprised at the precision with which you guided the station's systems." Alara blinked. I just reacted. I felt the flows and corrected them. But how could I do that?" Thria's eyes glimmered. "Because you were meant to. Humans are resilient, adaptable, and capable of understanding patterns even when others cannot. The serum did not grant you power. It unlocked what was already possible. You have potential beyond what most species can achieve." Alara's chest swelled with a mixture of pride and doubt. "But if this is true, why warn me not to tell anyone?" Thria's gaze turned serious. "Because power attracts attention. Not all who see your abilities will be kind. Some will fear what they do not understand. Some may wish to control it. For now, discretion is your ally. The galaxy is not yet ready for what you represent." Alara nodded, understanding the gravity of the situation. Her abilities were a gift, yes, but also a responsibility. She could save lives, prevent disasters, and advance knowledge, but only if she used her gift wisely. The following days were quieter but no less significant. Alara continued her experiments, learning to refine her abilities. She could manipulate energy with greater precision, anticipate mechanical failures, and even sense the intentions of those around her. Yet she remained careful, revealing only enough to help when needed, never enough to alarm the station's inhabitants. One afternoon, she observed a small shuttle preparing to depart the station. The pilot, a young human named Kale, struggled with navigation data. Normally, this would have been a simple task, but the shuttle was carrying critical supplies to a nearby colony experiencing energy shortages. Alara could sense Kale's anxiety and the potential for minor errors that could escalate into failure. She reached out silently, guiding his mind with subtle nudges. Kale's hands moved more confidently, adjustments made instinctively. The shuttle lifted off, leaving the station safely, and Alara felt a quiet satisfaction. This was the kind of difference she could make, small, precise, and life-saving. As she looked out at the stars that night, she realized the truth of Thria's words. Humans were underestimated, not because of weakness, but because no one had truly seen what humans could do when pushed beyond ordinary limits. She felt a surge of hope. If she could survive and thrive in Eden 7, what could humanity accomplish across the galaxy? Her reflections were interrupted by a sudden alert. A new energy reading appeared on the station's monitors, a faint, irregular pulse, unlike anything she had sensed before. It was distant, coming from deep in space, yet it carried a rhythm, a pattern that immediately drew her attention. Alara's heart quickened. This was not a threat like the asteroid, not yet, but it was something new, something unexplored. She felt a spark of excitement and determination. Her abilities were no longer just a secret, they were a tool, a key to understanding the universe. And the universe, it seemed, had already started reaching back. As the stars glimmered outside the viewport, Alara made a silent promise to herself. She would learn, she would explore, and she would prove that humanity was capable of greatness. Not through conquest or force, but through courage, ingenuity, and the unyielding spirit that had carried her across the cosmos. The galaxy had presented its first challenge. And for the first time, a human was ready to meet it head-on. Alara had spent days analyzing the strange energy signal she had sensed from deep space. Her abilities allowed her to trace subtle patterns in the data, hints of something alive yet not entirely organic. The station's AI, SIRA, provided computational support, but even the AI seemed fascinated by her insights, as if the human mind was suddenly operating on an entirely new level. But the signal was not her only focus. Thria had been observing her more closely since the asteroid incident. The nurse's presence was subtle yet undeniable, like a quiet current of understanding that guided her without ever imposing. Alara felt the weight of Thria's gaze, not intrusive, but knowing. And at last the nurse decided it was time to speak. "Dr. Miles," Thria said one evening, her glowing form shifting with gentle light, "you have shown remarkable control, but it is time you understood why you were given the serum." Alara had anticipated this conversation for days. She had prepared herself for an explanation, for truths that could either delight or terrify her. "I've managed most things," she said cautiously. "I've stabilized the station, guided systems, even prevented accidents. But I still don't understand why you chose me." Thria's eyes shimmered, deep and reflective, like liquid crystal. "The serum you received contains a symbiotic component designed to enhance intelligence, adaptability, and perception. It was originally developed for beings whose biology could naturally harmonize with it. Humans were never tested. Too unpredictable, too fragile, or so we believed." Alara felt a strange rush of disbelief and curiosity. "So you experimented on me?" she asked, keeping her voice calm. Thria's form brightened faintly, almost as if acknowledging the subtle accusation. "Not in the way you might think. It was not a test of control or obedience. It was an opportunity. A chance to see whether a human could thrive under circumstances we assumed impossible, and you have exceeded every expectation." Alara stared, trying to absorb the revelation. The serum had unlocked abilities she had never dreamed of. Intuition with machines, energy manipulation, rapid problem-solving, these were not mere enhancements. They were proof that humanity's potential was far greater than the galaxy had realized. "But why me?" she asked. "Why not another human?" Thria's gaze softened. "Because you possess qualities that cannot be measured by biology alone. Curiosity, courage, empathy, and a willingness to act when others hesitate. These traits are rare, and when combined with the serum, they produce outcomes that cannot be predicted by calculations alone. You are the bridge, the link between humans and the broader galaxy." Alara felt a mixture of pride and fear. The weight of responsibility pressed on her. She realized that her abilities were not just for her own benefit, they were meant to serve others, to guide, protect, and inspire. "Then, this is permanent?" she asked cautiously. "Will I always have these abilities?" Thria considered her carefully. "The changes are stable, yes. Your mind and body have adapted, but the true power lies not in the serum itself, but in how you choose to use it. Intelligence without guidance can be dangerous. Strength without wisdom can be destructive. You must learn patience, discipline, and humility. That is the final lesson of the serum." Alara nodded slowly. She understood that this was not simply a gift, but a challenge. She had been given the tools to exceed human limitations, but the real test would be how she used them. Over the next several days, Thria guided her through exercises designed to refine her control. Alara learned to sense energy flows in increasingly complex systems, to anticipate minor failures in machinery and life support, and to perceive the intentions of others without intrusion. Each lesson deepened her understanding of the serum's effects, and each success reinforced the idea that humans could achieve remarkable feats when challenged and supported. One afternoon, Thria led Alara to the observation deck, overlooking the vast expanse of space. Stars sparkled like scattered diamonds, distant worlds glowing faintly in the dark. "Look closely, Dr. Miles," Thria said. "See that cluster?" She pointed to a nebula-like formation, faintly luminous with subtle pulses of energy. "The galaxy is alive with patterns, signals, and connections. Most species see only fragments. Humans, with your potential, can perceive the threads that link them. That is why you were chosen." Alara's breath caught. She could indeed sense it, a faint rhythm beneath the stars, energy weaving and pulsing in ways she could almost touch. She extended her awareness, reaching out mentally, and for the first time she felt a connection not just to the station, but to the universe itself. It was a hum of life, of motion, of possibility. "Is this normal?" she asked. "Do other humans ever feel this?" Thria shook her head. "Rarely. Most humans are limited by perception, by biology, by doubt, but you have crossed the threshold. You see beyond boundaries, beyond limitations. This is the essence of your potential." The revelation stirred something within Alara, a profound sense of purpose. Her abilities were not a secret to hide or a tool for self-interest. They were a call to action, a chance to prove that humanity could thrive, adapt, and contribute to the galaxy in ways no one had anticipated. Over the next week, Alara tested her limits further. She interfaced with the station's AI at a level previously thought impossible, correcting programming errors, optimizing energy flows, and repairing damaged systems with precision and speed. She helped researchers analyze alien specimens, providing insights that would have taken months using conventional methods. Yet, despite her successes, she remained cautious. She still remembered Thria's warning: power attracts attention, and not all who observed her would be kind. She had to remain discreet, using her abilities where they could make a difference without drawing unnecessary notice. One evening, a new challenge arose. A small shuttle approaching Eden 7 transmitted a distress signal. Its energy systems were failing, and the pilot's communications were fragmented. Alara instinctively tuned into the signal, feeling the shuttle's energy flows and the pilot's intentions. She guided the shuttle to a safe landing, directing its systems and stabilizing its energy output. When the shuttle touched down, the crew inside looked at her with astonishment. They had expected a routine rescue from the station's automated systems, not a human who could interface with energy flows and predict system failures instinctively. "You saved us," the pilot said, voice trembling. "How did you do that?" Alara smiled faintly, brushing it off. "Just observing patterns," she said softly, but inside she felt a quiet pride. Humans had always adapted to challenges, and now she had demonstrated that capability in a way that transcended expectations. Later, as she walked through the corridors, she reflected on Thria's words. Humans were underestimated not because of weakness, but because no one had truly witnessed their potential. The serum had unlocked something that had always been within, a spark of ingenuity and resilience that could rise to any challenge. That night, Alara returned to the observation deck. She gazed at the stars, feeling the faint hum of energy threads connecting worlds, systems, and life forms. She realized that the galaxy was a vast puzzle, full of patterns waiting to be understood, challenges waiting to be met, and opportunities for humans to prove their worth. Thria approached silently, her form glowing softly in the starlight. "Do you understand now, Dr. Miles?" she asked. Alara nodded. "I think so. The serum gave me abilities, yes, but the real gift is seeing what humans can do. We are capable of more than we've ever imagined. And it's not just about survival, it's about contributing, improving, and connecting." Thria's eyes brightened with approval. "Exactly. And that is why you were chosen. Humanity is not yet fully recognized in the galaxy, but you will help change that. Your actions, your choices, and your discoveries will pave the way for others. Remember, true power lies in responsibility and understanding." Alara felt a swell of determination. She had crossed a threshold, not just biologically, but mentally and spiritually. She understood that her abilities were not just tools, they were a symbol of human potential. She resolved to use them wisely, to explore, to protect, and to inspire. As she stood under the vast expanse of stars, Alara made a silent promise. She would honor the gift Thria had given her, not by seeking glory or recognition, but by proving that humanity could rise to meet the universe's challenges. That humans were not fragile observers, but capable participants in the cosmic story. The galaxy was vast, mysterious, and full of surprises. And for the first time, a human was ready to step forward, not just to survive, but to thrive. The days after the revelation passed in a blur of activity for Alara. Eden 7 was no longer just a station. It had become a testing ground for her abilities, a place where she could quietly explore the limits of what humans could achieve. Yet her thoughts were increasingly drawn to the larger universe, the signal she had discovered, the patterns in energy flows, and the countless systems that pulsed beyond human reach. Alara understood now that her abilities were not just a gift for solving immediate problems. They were a call to action. Humans had long been observers of the galaxy, learning, trading, and surviving. But she could see something that others had not. Humans had the potential to contribute in ways no one had expected. One morning, an urgent alert came from the outer decks. A cargo convoy transporting essential supplies to a distant colony had encountered a spatial anomaly. Normally, such situations would require weeks of calculations and coordinated assistance from multiple stations. But Alara felt the anomaly immediately. Its subtle energy fluctuations, its unpredictable twists, the invisible currents that threatened to destabilize the ships. Without hesitation, she moved to the command center. The alien crew looked at her, a mixture of curiosity and cautious hope in their eyes. "Dr. Miles," one engineer said, "we've detected a disturbance in the convoy's path. Calculations suggest a 60% chance of failure." Alara smiled faintly. "Then we'll make it 0%, she said, her voice calm and assured. She extended her awareness, sensing the ships, the anomaly, and the energy threads connecting them. Her mind moved through calculations faster than any computer could, anticipating shifts in the anomaly, rerouting power, and predicting the convoy's responses. She directed the ships silently, guiding them past the danger with a precision that left the crew in awe. By the time the convoy arrived safely at the colony, the station's staff were quietly murmuring among themselves. "How does she do it?" one asked. "It's as if she can see the future." Ilara simply shrugged, though inside she felt a growing pride. Humans were underestimated in the galaxy, not because they lacked ability, but because no one had seen their potential fully realized. And now, one human had proven that the impossible could be achieved. That evening, she returned to the observation deck, gazing at the stars. The distant nebula she had first noticed still pulsed faintly, a reminder that the universe was alive, waiting, and full of challenges. Thria appeared beside her, silent and radiant. "You did well today," Thria said. "The colony is safe, the convoy delivered, and the station functions better than ever. But there is more to learn, Dr. Miles. Humanity has not yet realized its full place in the galaxy." Ilara turned to her, curiosity shining in her eyes. "What do you mean?" Thria's glow brightened slightly. "Humans have the capacity to lead, to inspire, and to bridge gaps between species. Your abilities are a glimpse of what is possible. But leadership is not about power alone. It is about vision, courage, and the willingness to act for the greater good. You must show humanity's potential by example." Ilara considered the words carefully. She realized that her journey was no longer just about survival or discovery. She had a responsibility to demonstrate that humans could think, adapt, and contribute in ways that complemented and strengthened the galaxy. It was a burden, yes, but also an opportunity. The next challenge came sooner than expected. A neighboring system reported a mysterious energy surge that threatened several inhabited worlds. The anomaly was unpredictable, fluctuating in ways that defied normal calculations. Governments debated responses, but delays could be disastrous. Ilara volunteered. She could feel the anomaly's patterns from across space, subtle threads connecting stars, planets, and energy fields. With her abilities, she could anticipate its movements, guide resources, and minimize harm. The alien authorities were hesitant, but Thria's subtle encouragement and her calm assurance convinced them to allow her to lead the response. Ilara's mind worked like a conductor, orchestrating starships, energy networks, and communications, all while coordinating efforts silently. She guided engineers, scientists, and pilots with precision, predicting obstacles before they arose and adjusting strategies in real time. As the anomaly's effects began to destabilize the outer planets, Ilara focused her awareness. She felt the energy currents, traced their paths, and nudged them subtly, stabilizing the most critical points. The planets remained intact, the population safe, and the anomaly gradually dissipated under her guidance. When it was over, the Alien Council formally recognized her efforts. Humans had been present on the station for years, but none had ever demonstrated such insight and capability. Leaders from multiple species gathered, observing Ilara not as a visitor but as a representative of humanity's potential. Ilara felt a quiet pride but also humility. She knew that her abilities alone were not the reason for the success. It was the cooperation, the trust, and the willingness of others to follow her guidance. Yet, she understood that this was a turning point. Humanity could no longer be underestimated. Over the following weeks, Ilara continued to lead initiatives, guiding repairs, optimizing station systems, and assisting other colonies in ways previously impossible. The story of her abilities spread quietly through the galaxy, not as a tale of dominance, but as a demonstration of ingenuity, courage, and collaboration. Humans were no longer mere observers. They were partners, capable of solving problems and contributing meaningfully. One evening, Thria approached Alara as she prepared for a long session analyzing a distant star cluster. "You have done more than I anticipated," the nurse said, her voice filled with pride. "The galaxy has begun to notice humanity in a new way, but there is still work to do." "Leadership is a journey, not a destination," Alara nodded. "I understand, but it feels possible now. Humans can rise to meet challenges, solve problems, and inspire trust. Maybe we can even help other species see their own potential," Thria smiled. "Indeed. And remember, you are not alone. Humans have always adapted, and now, with guidance and opportunity, you can thrive in ways previously unimagined. The galaxy will watch, and you will lead by example." Alara spent the following months traveling between colonies and stations, quietly demonstrating humanity's abilities. She stabilized failing energy grids, assisted in delicate scientific experiments, and mediated conflicts with patience and insight. Everywhere she went, she showed that humans could contribute positively, not through force, but through intelligence, courage, and empathy. During one mission to a distant system, Alara observed an unusual planet where the native species had long struggled to stabilize their energy resources. The planet's network was failing, and the population faced potential collapse. Alara connected with the system's energy flows, analyzing weaknesses and guiding solutions. Slowly, under her guidance, the system stabilized, the resources balanced, and the inhabitants thrived once more. When the aliens thanked her, she felt a sense of fulfillment she had never known. Humans were no longer outsiders in the galaxy. They were capable of leadership, innovation, and collaboration. Her journey, guided by the mysterious serum, had shown the potential that had always existed within her species. One night, as she gazed at the stars from the observation deck, Alara reflected on the journey. From a simple injury on a research mission to saving entire colonies and stabilizing energy systems across space, her life had changed irrevocably. The serum had unlocked abilities, yes, but it had also revealed the true strength of humanity: courage, intelligence, adaptability, and the willingness to act for the greater good. Thria appeared beside her once more, her presence calm and reassuring. "You have done well, Doctor." "Miles," she said, "humanity is now seen in a new light, but the journey is just beginning. The galaxy has many challenges, and humans will continue to play a vital role. Remember, your greatest power is not in what you can do, but in how you inspire others to rise as well." Alara nodded, feeling the weight and the honor of her responsibility. "I will do my best," she said. "Not just for humans, but for all who share the galaxy. We can solve problems together, learn from one another, and grow stronger. This is the future I want to see." As the stars shimmered in the endless night, Alara understood that humanity's story in the galaxy had only just begun. She was no longer just a human researcher on a distant station. She was a symbol of possibility, a testament to human ingenuity and courage. She had crossed the threshold into a new era, one where humans were recognized not just for survival, but for their ability to create, inspire, and lead. The galaxy was vast, full of mysteries, challenges, and opportunities. And for the first time, humanity was ready to take its place, not as a minor player, but as a force of creativity, resilience, and hope. Alara looked out at the stars and smiled. The universe was waiting. And she, a single human among countless worlds, was ready to show what humans could truly achieve.